The laughter and music died in an instant, suffocated by the cold fury in Jerry's voice. "Shut up! Nobody wants to hear about your bloody eyes and vomit. Can't you just be pregnant without making it everyone else's problem? It's revolting." The words, meant for me, hung in the silent air of the country club, a public indictment of the life I was creating. I felt my stomach clench, not with morning sickness, but with a frigid shock that spread through me like poison. His mother, a gasp caught in her throat, whispered his name. "Jerry, she's carrying your child." His reply was a venomous whisper. "That doesn't mean I have to hear about every disgusting thing happening to her. This is supposed to be a happy day and she's making me lose my appetite." Something inside me snapped. It wasn't the pain I felt that shocked me, but the sudden absence of it. The woman who had, moments before, been radiating a quiet joy was gone. I set my glass down, the gentle clink echoing like a gunshot in the silence. My voice, low and even, was a stranger's. "You know what? You're absolutely right. I won't disgust you with any more updates, Jerry." His face shifted from fury to surprise, then to a smug satisfaction that twisted the knife. "See," he said with a satisfied smirk, "it's not that hard to keep all that private." He thought he had won. He thought he had silenced me. But he didn't realize that in that moment, he had given me a weapon and a purpose. This was not about a secret. It was a silent war, a war I was now determined to win. He wanted me to protect him from the disgusting reality of my pregnancy, and I was going to give him exactly what he asked for. The next few weeks would show him the true cost of his words. The truth was a heavy weight, and I carried it alone. Jerry, meanwhile, lived in a world of pleasant fictions. My new reality was a series of clandestine appointments and silent victories. He called, surprised and confused, when his mother wept with joy. "You're having a boy! He's perfect!" He called me, bewildered. "You said we'd have to wait weeks for the gender to show." My reply was a whisper of his own words, a perfect mirror of his cruelty. "I only said that so as not to disgust you. I'm protecting you from revolting pregnancy talk." "You can't keep the gender from me," he insisted. "I'm not keeping anything," I replied, the bitterness a sharp tang on my tongue. "I'm protecting you, just like you asked." He began to notice the small, telling gaps. When friends asked about baby names, I would discuss them enthusiastically with everyone, but him. Our circle knew we considered James. His parents knew about Thomas. His brother about William. Yet he, the father, had no idea. 2 days later, my feet swelled so badly the skin wouldn't spring back when pressed, like a memory foam mattress holding the impression of a dream. I went to the hospital alone. They diagnosed me with preeclampsia and admitted me for monitoring, my life and the life of my son hanging precariously in the balance. I texted my family, my friends, even his brother, everyone but Jerry. He found out hours later. His voice on the phone was a frantic, disbelieving shriek. "You're in the hospital and you didn't tell me?" I replied with a calm that belied the fear gripping my heart. "Medical details about pregnancy are TMI. You said so yourself." The silence on the other end of the line was the only apology I ever received. The C-section was scheduled for 36 weeks due to complications. Once again, I told everyone but him. "The baby is coming next Tuesday," his sister told him. He called me in a panic, a frantic, desperate plea. "Tuesday? You're having our son on Tuesday?" I felt a small, cold satisfaction. "Yep, didn't want to disgust you with talk about them cutting through my abdomen layers and pulling a baby out of my uterus. That sounds pretty gross, doesn't it?" His protest, "I didn't mean the birth," was a child's tantrum. But he had. He had meant every disgusting detail. I left for the hospital in a taxi, Jerry still showering at home. I texted him one last time before they put me under, a final, poignant message of my surrender to his game. "Having the baby now. Don't want to disgust you with the details, so talk later." When I woke, the world was a blur of machines and sterile lights, and Jerry was there, wild-eyed and desperate, but not for me. "You didn't tell me you were leaving," he said, and in that moment, the entire narrative of our relationship shifted. My life-threatening surgery, the pain, the triumph, it was all about him. "This is the problem, Jerry," I said, the words heavy and slow. "I just had our son and woke up from life-threatening surgery, and your first words are about you." His face paled. I missed my son's first moments. And that, I realized, was the truest thing he had said all night. He didn't just miss a birth. He had missed a moment that could never be reclaimed. A moment that was, in all its disgusting detail, the purest form of love and life. He walked out. I didn't cry. There was no rage, no heartbreak. The nurse came over, her face a mask of gentle pity and barely concealed contempt. She muttered something about men who can't handle the consequences of their actions, a truth so simple, it was devastating. I stared at the empty doorway, at the space where he had stood and then fled, and a thought, cold and clear as a winter morning, settled in my mind. He didn't run from me, or from the baby. He ran from himself, from the horrifying image of his own cruelty reflected back at him in my exhausted, postpartum eyes. 20 minutes passed before they wheeled him in, my son. He was a perfect, tiny person. They placed him in my arms, and in that instant, everything else, the pain, the anger, the empty doorway, vanished. It was a love so fierce and immediate it left me breathless. My phone began to buzz with a relentless urgency. It was Jerry's mom, her voice a frantic whisper, asking why her son had shown up at her house sobbing and incoherent. I told her the truth, raw and unvarnished. He had walked out right after I woke up from surgery. The line went silent for a long moment before she said she was on her way. An hour later, a woman with a clipboard introduced herself as a social worker. She asked gentle questions about my support system, her notes documenting every word as I recounted Jerry's public humiliation, my silent protest, the missed appointments, and the final brutal departure. She nodded, her expression grim, and explained that what he had done was not just unkind, it was emotional abuse, a dangerous pattern they needed to document to ensure my safety and that of my son. Jerry's mother arrived during our conversation, her tears finally finding a release as she held her grandson for the first time. She told me Jerry had confessed everything and that she was disgusted with her own son. The next few weeks were a blur of pain and healing. Jerry's texts were a barrage, begging, pleading, then angry and accusatory, before returning to desperate apologies. He was a child throwing a tantrum, demanding access to a life he had declared revolting. I put my phone on silent, a small act of self-preservation. I focused on my son, on the nights Jerry's mom came to help, on the meals his sister cooked. They were the bridge, the quiet, consistent support that Jerry had failed to be. They were his family, but in their unwavering support, they had become mine. 2 weeks after the birth, a thick envelope arrived. Inside was a formal letter from Jerry, clearly written with the help of a therapist. It had words like accountability and repair and taking responsibility, words that sounded completely alien coming from him. He was trying to buy his way back in with language, but I knew his actions had already spoken volumes. I scheduled a consultation with a family lawyer who helped me build a timeline of his neglect. And then came the mediation. He looked terrible, pale with dark circles under his eyes, his clothes hanging loose on a frame that had clearly lost weight. He listened without interruption as I calmly recounted his cruelty, the words finally spoken aloud. He apologized without making excuses, admitting he was selfish and cruel. He had a notebook full of notes from therapy, receipts for parenting classes, and a stack of books on postpartum recovery. He wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was asking for a chance to prove his change. We agreed on a supervised visitation schedule, 1 hour, twice a week, at his mother's house. I sat in my car during the first visit, checking my phone for updates. His mom sent a picture of him holding our son, his expression a mix of awe and fear. He looked at him with a tenderness I had never seen him direct at me during the pregnancy. It was a new Jerry, a transformed Jerry, molded by absence and loss. As the weeks turned into a month, then 2, He kept his promises. He showed up. He took notes. He asked thoughtful questions at a pediatrician's office. He was a father who was learning to be one because he was forced to. And I was thriving. I was learning to be a mother without a partner, building my strength, my own confidence. The pain began to recede, replaced by a fierce pride in the life I had created and protected. Now, 6 weeks after the birth, I sit in my living room, nursing my son. The question of our future hangs in the air, unasked, a ghost between us. He is showing up now, a man transformed, but is it enough? Can a relationship be rebuilt on the foundation of a betrayal so profound? Does true change erase the scars of the past? Or do they remain, a constant reminder of what was lost?